So, Jen, this is wonderful having you on today. I understand you guys got some snow.
We
What?
got dumped on. Like, yeah, it was. I just drove over to my sister's to do this, and she lives down by a lake, and I hope she can get to the gym. So it's like probably a foot at least.
So, a foot like this is the first
Yeah,
snowfall of the year?
this is the
Oh,
first snowfall of the year.
wow.
Yeah,
So,
I was
this
shocked when I came out this morning.
good for
Yeah,
you.
Whew. Don't have my
So,
snow tires on yet.
will it be like this for the
I
rest of the
think it's
winter
supposed to
now?
be like this for I think till Monday or Tuesday. It's supposed to keep coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We're getting our Christmas tree this weekend, so I hope we don't have a whole lot of snow because it's always
Well,
so much fun to bring that in the living room and let it melt off.
oh God, it'll be pretty though.
It will be.
Getting the tree will be pretty.
So true. Jen, you did a magnificent job with an extremely close friend's dad who is a GM employee.
Yep.
And of course, they get really special pricing, and not everybody likes to deal with those people. And as much as they get a magnificent, wicked deal, they're not the easiest in the entire world. Tell us what it's like selling to those GM employees, or it doesn't even have to be that particular brand and manufacturer, but any one of them. How did that deal come together for you?
So I got a referral from somebody. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
And so the son reached out at first and then eventually linked me up with the dad. And the dad was after he wanted to replace his SLT. Um, so I priced him a 24 and a 25. He was on the 24, but with the GM pricing, I think it is always good to price both. He got a $99,000 truck when he was on $84,000 trucks for about the same price. And almost missed it because as soon as he said yes, everything was over the phone. As soon as he said yes, I went to grab the invoice from the book and it was in their office because another customer was on it. So
Good
we
for
did it
you.
right in the nick of time.
Wow, outstanding. You know, what I think the audience doesn't really get is as much as, and there's just car people listening to this podcast for the lion's share. I hope some others don't. Let's dream a little bit and think that people are going to listen to it and find it fast. I really hope they do. But the reality is, six figures to purchase an automobile.
Yeah.
Taking them from, gosh, only in 2018 or so. You started in the business around that time,
Yep.
a little earlier than that. And I think the most expensive vehicle maybe have been in the 70s,
Oh
possibly.
yeah. Yeah, like a fully loaded top of the line 2500 truck was under 100 and now a 1500 you can get over 100.
A
Like
half
it's
ton truck over 100 grand.
yeah,
And you're a lady in a man's world. Now,
I
take
am.
us back to that. Everybody's going to be like, holy smokes, like you sell two or three of these six-figure automobiles per month. You're a lady in technically a man's world. It's
Yep.
still predominantly
Very much is,
dominant.
yeah.
Yes. Competing with guys that have been at it for 20 years or more, and especially
Oh
when you
yeah.
started, right?
Yeah, yeah, like the actually when I started there was only two other salesmen at Hallman's and then the owner. Um, the one salesman had been doing it for 6 years. The other one had been doing it for 9 years. The guy that joined next has been doing it for 9 years as well. So a
Out.
lot of experience and then little old me that didn't have a clue. Like I came from retail background, opened a bar. So it's still customer service, still sales, but it is a completely different beast, like completely different beast.
So did everybody hear that? She owned a bar, and I remember when we first chatted, and you
Yeah,
said, "I know nothing about the product,
nothing.
nothing at all about the product." Bill, and I said, "Well, it's not all you need to know, but that is definitely the starting point." But as we chatted, and I got to know you a little bit better, if memory serves me correctly, your retail experience was clothing in
Clothing.
a major city market with a luxury brand clothing manufacturer. Now, what are the similarities with respect to customers and the buying activities?
I think the biggest similarities are just creating a customer experience. As far as the buying activities, like again, totally different. I was selling $70 pants, not $70,000 trucks, right? So, but my biggest thing is be yourself and focus on the customers and don't try and make the sale so badly that you're screwing anybody over. Do what's right by the customer because that's how you get referrals and stuff like that. So that was I could take that into it, but again, it was still so different, like so different. I'm still learning. I've been in it for 6 years now, and I'm still learning constantly.
Outstanding. Good for you. So what got you into it? How did you wake up in the morning and decide I want to sell automobiles?
It kind of just fluked. Like I met the one salesman there, and he said they were looking for somebody, and I was like, "Oh, I'm used to sales." I was very nervous, and I remember the interview. And they were asking like, what are your goals? How much do you think you'll sell? And I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you. I came from retail where I knew my job inside and out. I trained other managers, so I had a ton of confidence there, and I knew my confidence was going to be shook stepping into the car world. And it definitely was. I was that girl that was everyone I talked to, it's going to be a sale, it's going to be a sale, which is not the case. But yeah, there were the similarities for me are just making sure you create an experience for the customer that's a good experience, and they leave like they were just shopping with their friend.
Now, I know the audience is dying to know this, Jen. Like in terms of performance on the floor, competing with all these guys,
Yeah.
a young lady in a man's world, and in many cases, a mature man's world. And what I think a lot of people don't realize, and you can shed a lot of light on it for everybody from a female perspective too, is a lot of the people coming in to purchase an automobile are male too, right?
Yes.
Even when it's for
Most.
the
The
spouse,
woman.
the
Yep.
daughter, or the sister, or the granddaughter, right? And it doesn't just include them. Grandsons and sons and
Yep.
brothers are the same sort of thing. But when you, when you, well, before we get into how you started and the challenges you went through there, share with everybody the pecking order at your dealership. Where do you fit on the leaderboard?
Right at the top. So
Good
it took
for
a while,
you.
but yeah. And it was a lot of work. So I actually made the guild last year. So I got bronze. So on the top 15% in GM in Canada. And I mean, I came from
Wow.
my first month selling, I sold one vehicle. And now it's consistently a
Good
month.
for
So
you. Outstanding.
yeah.
And then income wise, don't tell us what the actual number is, but are you in six figures?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. Like,
Great.
and everything, like life is expensive nowadays. And I'm a single girl. I bought a house last year. Um,
Good for
I have
you.
like I don't get a demo, so I have to pay for my truck. Like I probably earn what a double income house would earn, at
Good
least.
for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Outstanding. And loving what you're doing what you love.
I love the customer experience. I love learning. And I love a challenge. So and it has been a challenge. So and working in a man's world as a female, one of the biggest wins is when a customer will come in and it's a man that is hard to deal with. That's what everybody else thinks. They're like, oh, be careful. He's not going to buy. You're wasting your time. And I'm like, are you guys okay? Like, it's just shifting. And then when I close them and nobody else could, I'm like, yeah.
Good.
And those are the guys that I end up getting probably the most referrals from.
Well, you know Rebecca in the program, right?
Yeah.
When we get together on the Thursdays, and she's a young lady, much younger than you are, and in the
Hey.
power sport world. And sorry, I didn't mean to phrase it like that.
You're old, Jen.
I miss that. I'll edit that out, Jen.
No, leave it, leave it.
It is a challenge for you gals
Oh,
meeting some of
100%.
these old timers that
And then it
are
is. And it's a lot of old timers. Like I've had a man come in with his wife and say he wouldn't work with a woman. I've had like when I first started, I said to one of the guys, because it's a different dealership that bought us. But I said to one of the guys, I'm like, it's a boys club. Like it's such a boys club here. And he's like, I've never seen a female handle the boys club as well as you. He's like, but it is. But so having to deal with that and like it is funny to see because it's like look, it's like high school sometimes when you look at the employees of a dealership and the boys trying to band together and be a clique and be the cool kids. And it's like, yeah, females can do it too.
good for you. Now, what do you feel like? And how do you handle this? Because I think a lot of females are going to be watching this and listening to this. What do you do when that guy, that old timer comes in and he goes, "Can I talk to a salesman?"
You're looking at one. Right? Like I'll give it right back. So I think that's the biggest thing too is if you fold to them, then you are a little girl. Like if you you kind of got to read the customer, but I think if you don't back down to them, a lot of times you'll win them over. A lot like a lot of my customers are like, you're more of a man than half the people in there.
And it isn't so much the gender, and it isn't
No.
at all the generational difference. It doesn't matter what age we are. And I know I
Mhm.
keep bring us back to that. But that's because I think there's a lot of females that were just like you 6 years ago at this present age in time saying, I'd like to sell cars. I'd like
Yeah.
to sell high ticket. How do I get into that? And even the ones that maybe have the courage and the confidence that you do and the polished resume, like, okay, what if when I do it, what if I'm not successful at it? What if
Yeah.
I don't make it? What if they don't help me? Shed some
I
light
think
on
the
that.
biggest thing, like, know your stuff. Don't go in and assume, like, don't play the role of a girl, I guess, or like what people think is a girl. You got to learn. I think it is more important, or not more important. I think as a female in the industry, to learn more stuff because they're going to grill you. Same as if you're watching a football game and I would say, "Oh, I love the Pittsburgh Steelers." A guy would say, "Name three players." Well, did you ask that guy to name three
Right.
players? Right? They'll grill you more because you're a girl, they'll write you off. But if you know your stuff and you do get the training, and I do find like dealerships, and I've asked around, there is not a lot of training. It's kind of a sink or swim mentality, which I mean, would you throw your baby in the water without teaching it how to swim? No. So that's when I reached out to you to get that extra training, which night and day difference of my skills, like night
Right.
and day, because it's super intimidating, especially when you first start out. You do have the guys that are kind of looking for you to fail in a sense. They're looking for you to answer questions wrong, to not know anything about trucks. They expect that you're just trying to get by as a cute little girl. I have so many other sales associates that as soon as I started to get successful, oh, what's your looks or it's this, it's that. It's like, no, it's not. Like there's plenty of good-looking women that can't sell. They don't care enough to get the training and know their stuff. Like there's product knowledge in a sense. You can kind of learn that as you go, but it's just handling handling car buyers, asking for the close. Like you teaching me how to ask for the close, asking for referrals, wording it right, night and day difference as well. And that was super intimidating for me and hard for me to learn at first was asking for like asking for the sale. I was not good at that. And then as soon as I did, I'm like, wow, it works. It
I
really
remember
works.
I remember that vividly. It was a great conversation happening, I think around this time of the year. If memory serves me correctly, it was a rainy, cold night. And you were in the service department. I think we actually did a FaceTime. It was late in the evening, and my wife said, What are you doing? And I said, Well, Jen's texting me, and I got to answer this. And you were going into a product knowledge walk around contest.
Oh yes, that's when I first started too.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and that I was scared as hell because no one else would volunteer. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I had to do yeah a walk around where you had to make a walk around video and send it into GM. And I was very scared, but again, you telling me, coaching me through the fact, like use the verbiage that GM uses, touch the point. Don't talk about just the features because people buy on emotion. So you talk about the benefits and how it works for that customer. And yeah, I was able to submit it, but that was intimidating too. But very good, like very good practice and learning.
And if I memory serves me correctly, you did really well in that contest. I think
Oh yes,
you won the round, and then you went on to
yes, I did run the round. Yes,
yeah. And then
right.
you did really
And
well
I was
at
brand new.
regionals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And and it was just so great to hear your level of excitement and
yeah.
enthusiasm because leading up to that, it was like,
Oh
I don't think I want to do this. Like I put
no,
my
I
hand
was
up and I'm like, Jen, you can do this. The best part is girls don't know anything about cars. So our
yeah,
expectation for all of you is right down here, just
yes.
the basement level. And that's because girls don't know it. And the reality is, what's the reality?
Girls sometimes know more because they care
Absolutely.
more, right? And their attention to detail, um, the drive to want to do well and deliver, 100%. Like we have a girl that just started, and I've tried to link you guys up. She is phenomenal. Like she's just got the it factor that you can't train, and watching her as like, and she's already selling her first month. She sold 8 in a grindy time, and I'm
Great.
going, girl, you gotta link up with Bill because she would take off. So it's neat to watch. And I didn't have a female because there was no females that worked at the dealership in the sales role. There was hardly any females at the dealership. So I didn't
There's
have
not even a girls' washroom, is there?
it doesn't matter anymore, Bill.
I know. I'm aging myself, Jen. You're right.
But yeah, it's like I didn't have anyone if I didn't actually reach out to you, thanks to my brother, because I messaged my brother, I'm like, okay, you got to know somebody that can train me because I'm not getting it here. And he's like, no, I don't. And then the next day, geez, like, I can't believe I didn't think of this guy. I've got the best person for you. And, but because to build that confidence, and I knew, like, as a manager and as a business owner, I do know how important it is to have confidence. And I didn't have anyone that was behind me and teaching me things and giving me positive reinforcement of things I was doing well. I had seagull managers that come in and things go bad. Like, nobody told me how to do a delivery. And I remember my first sale, I'm like, here's all the paperwork and I'm gonna get them to sign it. And I don't know what any of it is. I thought
Oh,
you guys would walk me through this.
brutal.
And then I remember I got in so much trouble about something, maybe a signature missed or something. And I'm like, I've never done this. So that hurt a lot, losing confidence because I didn't have the right people motivating me behind. So then that was huge linking up with you. Even the smallest things, and I think it was one of the first modules it was in the six-figure salesman, the teeny, teeny, tiny little things like, and I'll never forget it. When you're walking out to a car to do a walk around, look for the little hints. You can look at the tires and see what size is there. So you can kind of go, oh yeah, those are 22s. You don't have to know it necessarily beforehand. You can look at the little, like, things like that. Huge. Yeah, I remember the business card when you folded the business card, and that's when you handed it to them and showed them how things, like little things like that, just tips and tricks and word tracks. Huge. The way you said referrals. Um, I was always awkward at asking for referrals. And it was hilarious because on Wednesday in the sales meeting, my boss is talking about referrals, referrals, referrals. Ask them for the referral. Tell them you want the referral. And he was wording it in a way that I remember that's how I was trained to word it until you. And it was the next day after you had taught me how to ask for referrals. Literally the next day, I used your word tracking and not in a, I need your referral. I know you know someone that's buying a car. It was, okay, you must have someone that you know that's buying a car. And don't you want them to meet me? Don't you want them to work with me? And just those little things, like not in a find me another buyer, but in a come on, I'm the best. You know it. Don't you want to help your family and friends? Easy changes that did boost my confidence. And then like once I started to hit it, it all became so much easier. And and like I say, there's still tons to learn, but I'm honest about that with my customers. You had even said, because I was like, I don't know how to learn all these vehicles, and people are coming in and they know more about them than I do. And how do I do this? And you had said, Jen, you have to remember, you have 25 vehicles to learn. They have one. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I would say that's the guys, sorry, I don't know that'll find you the answer, but I've got 25 vehicles to learn and you've studied this one. Actually, can you tell me about the vehicles? Why don't you do the walk around? You show me. So
Of all the research that you've done, what are the things that you really want to know more about? And what are the things that in your research, a little bit of a question mark, like smart cruise control? Have you ever had smart cruise control before? Would you like to know a little bit more
yeah,
about that? That's what people's eyes light up with. They don't want a data dump. Not all of them, right?
no,
The enthusiast does. The
yeah,
enthusiast wants a car show
yes.
presentation at an
Which is like
engineering
a
event.
want, like there's not that many enthusiasts. Like in the grand scheme of things.
So true.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
think
know those people. I do. I just flip the script and you're a G, like, you know so much. Can you tell me more? And then I'm stroking their ego. So that's all I do with them. If I don't know something, I get them to train me.
now tell us about your worst customer that you sold. You're like, I don't even want to sell this person. Like, can I just pass them off? I want rid of them. They were boisterous, rude, obnoxious, condescending. Did you ever get anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Creepy. So I'll get people that will come in. I had one that I'm thinking of. He he came in and it was like he was trying to intimidate me from the start. He came in and he stood at my office door and just looked down at me. And I'm like, and I had never met this person, but for whatever reason, I'm like, you must be so and so. And he would like he looked like it was like a cop looking down at me and constantly asking me for dates instead of I'm like, we're here about a vehicle. Like I don't have time to and I
Right.
did at one point go to my boss and say, I need him out of here. I had another customer that we had to fire essentially. But those ones suck. Like they do suck. And I think a lot of people, especially when they're new in the industry, get nervous about not wanting to work with someone because they're like, I'll lose a sale. it's always better to lose the customer if your mental health is going to be affected. Like if they're if you're completely uncomfortable and he's a jerk. But then again, there is some of the guys that will come in and they are ignorant or condescending, and I just give it right back to those ones. So
Good for you.
because some like and but that ends up working well. There was one guy that he again nobody could close him, and he had reached out to me because a farmer that again nobody could close. He came in, I closed him, and thank God I did because he has probably sent 5 million in sales in 3 years. So
Outstanding.
yeah, but I think that was it too. Like you can't necessarily fold to customers when they come in and they're trying to intimidate and all that stuff. I think they think, especially if it's a girl, oh, this will be easy. No, no, like you're going to respect me just as much as I respect you. So that's how we're starting this off. And I think that's what works. I think that's why I was able to close them. I was respectful.
Good for you. Well, I'm thinking back to some of the Thursday classes that we've done, and Rebecca responded to me afterwards one time, and she goes, the most I got out of this particular session was when we were talking about the four buyer behaviors and that aggressive, assertive buyer, the
Mhm.
A-type personality, and that only two A's respect each other. And they're really
Yeah,
easy to identify based on the vehicle they drive, the clothing they're wearing, the vocabulary that they're using, and they're to the point. Like, I'm
yeah.
going to tell you what I want, and you tell me when I can have it.
That's
And
exactly the conversation that was being had with this guy. And finally I said, I'm like, that you need to let me do my job. I know how to do my job. I'm not going around telling you how to do your job. So let me do my job and we'll go from there. And it was like he was like, oh. But I do think that's the biggest thing is you can't fold to them because then they'll just walk all over you and they're just testing you. And then they're just playing with you. You're a little mouse and they're a cat. But like again, don't be rude, don't be ignorant, but let them know like this is a professional thing. You're coming to my workplace. I'm a professional at selling vehicles. So let me lead and just but his wife has bought me gifts because I had to deal with her husband. But he's bought like they've bought
great.
two Escalades, uh a Denali Ultimate Yukon, two 2500s.
He would not go anywhere else now, right, Jen?
Nope, nope,
Like, that's
absolutely not.
magnificent. Now,
Yeah.
what I think everyone's begging to learn and know is, when did you make that switch? Because you came from a very customer focused industry before, where selling retail and selling jeans, like, is there anything I can help you with? No, I'm just having a look around. Okay, great. Have a look around all you want. And I'm over here in the corner if you need me. And it was a very passive, easy transactional process. Now you're over here at automobiles and six-figure automobiles and dealing with these business owners that are accustomed to getting everything their way whenever they want. Like when I say jump, you were to say how
Yeah.
high, almost like that military general.
Yeah.
And how did you learn? How did you develop the confidence to be able to, as we suggest, you got to push back on those individuals,
Yeah.
recognizing that there are four different types of buyer behaviors, right? We
Yeah.
can't do this with everybody, but with that particular behavior, what was it like for you? What was that aha moment where you're like, oh wow, it actually worked?
So I think, well, number one, I was never, what can I help you with? Oh, no. It was, I used the same tactics from retail. It was asking open-ended questions then. So I think that helped transition into it because I didn't run my stores like passive, go wait in the corner. No, no, no. It
Good
was
for
get
you.
to know
I
if
would
you don't know
expect
five
that.
things. Yeah. Like if the girls would bring me close to start a change room, it was, you need to tell me five things about your customer. So I think taking that into it and just remembering that get to know your customer, let them talk, let them do what they have to do. But the transition for me, I think was the one of the big farmers. Like when I landed my first big, the big farmer that has sent all the business. I think with him it was because he came in and he had a COVID mask on and he was sitting there and I could not read this man. And he came in about an equinox that we
That
had
was
on the
brutal.
lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going, oh, you're giving me nothing, man. And he's like, okay, you've impressed me so far. I'll bring my daughter back. And I'm like, impressed you? So who the hell are you? So he comes back and then he goes, we're talking and he says, well, I buy 3,500 Denali's every 6 months. Tell me more. So he had never been able to do a deal. And it was like taking, like going through your programs and stuff, being able to build that confidence, because I think it is the most important thing in any job, really, is to have confidence. But I think because with him, it kind of like asking for the sale. It was asking for a chance because he had never been able to do business here. And I said, have you tried since the new management or new owners? No. And I said, listen, all I'm asking for is a chance. If I can't beat the other guys, then I can't beat the other guys. But if you let me try, I'm like, where do you live? And he was a local and he was shopping out of town. So I wouldn't want your service appointments to be here, wouldn't want this. So having, but also I'm honest. I think that's a huge thing as well. I wouldn't say that I'm a typical car salesman. I do things a little different, but being honest and letting them know. So it was, yeah, it was COVID. So he's saying, well, maybe I'll order a truck from you. Can you get me a truck in? But he was saying quick. I'm like, I'm going to tell you 6 to 8 months. It could even be a year. And he's like, no, this place is going to get it to me. They've got one coming. I'm like, I don't think they do. No, they've got this truck coming for me. And I'm like, they're not being made. So when I pull up the inventory list, like of who has these trucks, this particular dealership didn't have any coming in. They didn't have any on the lot. And I'm like, so see here, I'm like, everyone's coming in expecting, and people are telling them, I can get you this vehicle in 3 months. I'll see you in 3 months because they're not getting you the vehicle in 3 months. I'm at least being honest. So he drove down to that dealership
Good for
right after
you.
our meeting, and sure enough, they did not have that vehicle coming in. So,
So they lied to him.
oh yeah, and he was like one of their biggest customers. They're still
So
trying to get him back.
couple of things there, and we're so the plane is going to be circling for a little bit here, Jen. Number one, this guy's buying Denali 3500. So to put it in perspective for everybody, what are we looking at a retail ticket on that truck?
120 grand.
$120,000. Now, that, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know your region, I know your area well. Is that an expensive commodity for that farmer in your particular region compared to his
Um,
combine, compared
oh
to his
yes,
six-wheel
yeah, no,
drive?
right, no. Yeah, for him, he does make those big purchases, but and farmers are funny too because they want the exact same truck so that other farmers don't know that they got a new truck. Like
So same color, same trim level.
always, oh, always. And he didn't listen to me at first when I was trying to get him into uh one truck because it was an AT4 as opposed to a Denali, and he didn't listen. He didn't listen. I'm like, we're not going to have another chance, Ed. This is the last chance you're going to have at a 3500. And he didn't listen, so he ended up having to get into a blue one. He was not happy, and I couldn't get him out of it forever. But he's back into the black ones. Yeah, no, they always get the exact same color, exact same trim level. They don't want it to look any different, so that when they roll up on to other farmers, they don't think, oh, he's making too much money now.
That's
Always, yeah.
okay. So you touched on something else that was really neat when you were talking about the girls that were working in retail with you. That when they came to the dressing room, tell me 5 things about your customer, and you just glossed over really quickly the funnel,
Yeah.
right? The activities that lead to the sale. And it's what we drive home on a regular basis through training and coaching. You know, the first one, and ages ago you talked about this when you said, Bill, I never greeted anybody with hi, how are you? And yeah, if have a look around, I'll be standing
No,
over
yes, no, yeah, no, yes, no answers.
that's the top of the funnel. That's the widest possible part. That's the easiest of our entire job. And
Mhm.
that's the only one where you don't get a second chance at a good first impression,
Yeah,
right? And that was dynamite. And then going through those activities, I think you would see that. What I think most average, ordinary automobile salespeople struggle with is the sales funnel, the
mhm.
activities that lead to the sale. They want to do product training, they want to close people, they want to negotiate. But when those activities are out of alignment, notice how as the funnel goes down and the drip out the bottom is your delivery and the follow up can happen at any time. But really, those are the only two activities down at the very bottom. We have to do the dynamite interview, the product presentation, demonstration, trade appraisal before we get to the squeeze point, which then
Mhm.
becomes a sale, negotiate and close. To correct me if I'm wrong, and you probably see this with how many people try to put negotiate and close up into the interview. Let's hammer out a deal so that I don't have to do those other
Yeah,
activities. Tell us
yeah.
about that.
So that's so true. Asking for the sale too soon doesn't help either. So yeah, starting with the funnel, like getting to know your customer so that you can put them in the right vehicle. But getting to know your customer is how you hit the hot spots as far as yes, I can tell you every feature on a vehicle. But if you're not telling the customer how it benefits them, it's useless. So getting to know your customer and the product knowledge and customer knowledge combined is the winning ticket, right? So, but making sure you're if you rush the close, now you're just after their money. They're a dollar sign. You don't care about them. You don't care about. And I think like if you do competitive shops or if you just ask anybody, like 9 out of 10 people, I would say, have terrible, terrible car buying experiences. Nobody likes to shop for cars. And I wish, like, I would love to change that for the industry because it shouldn't be a crap experience. Like, if you do get to know your customer and you create an experience that makes sense for them, and it's not always the same for people, you have to figure out that person and, okay, these are the benefits that they're going to need. Safety features, like making sure you touch on those. So, getting to know the customer, and then when you go to do the walk around, you hit those spots that she's going to emotionally respond to so that it makes sense for her. It if you go straight to the close, you could be trying to close them on something that they either can't afford or that really doesn't make sense for them, and then now you've upset a customer.
A lot of salespeople, in an attempt to close the sale, are actually just trying to get commitment,
Yes,
right? To have
yes,
that commitment at the interview with, look, we're advertising the vehicle for this much. I'm not asking you to buy it. Before I go in and show you and drive you in it, I'm just testing the waters, making sure that it's within the realm of possibility. Because if a $780 biweekly payment is 4 times as much as you want to
yeah.
pay, then
You don't let a girl try on a wedding dress that's out of her budget. You don't do it.
good for
Same thing.
you.
It's the
Great
same thing. Yeah.
analogy.
That's what I'll say to them. I'm like, I don't want you to try on this beautiful wedding dress because there's no chance in hell you're not going to love it. But so that's you're going to set them up for you're going to disappoint them. So then it's going to be, oh my God, yes, I'm so in love with this vehicle. Oh, but you can afford this one. Oh, so you've lost the sale.
And what do they say? What do they say
There's
when you show them what they can afford? And what do they typically say?
if I just go straight to what they can afford,
No,
or
when we show them
oh,
something that is really, really great, and then we really should be showing them what they can afford.
usually what they will say is, let me think about it.
Such an easy objection to
Yeah,
overcome, and yet
it is.
99% of struggling automobile salespeople, average ordinary automobile salespeople, can't get over it because they're on the wrong vehicle to start with.
Yes, which
Make your
is
life
like,
easy.
yeah, you're setting yourself up to fail right from the start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, something else that you touched on way earlier on, I wanted to circle back around on it again, was my theory of customer focus approach.
Mhm.
And I think you were doing that because you made reference to it seconds ago in your previous retail career. And that's offering the choices. And you just made it
Yeah.
right now with the wedding dress. Maybe you wouldn't take someone from would a wedding dress be in the tens and $20,000
So
range?
some, yes, if you're going Vera Wang or something, like, yeah, but they're not quite like they're not all like that expensive.
So if you were trying to help somebody make the decision, right?
Mhm.
We're not telling them what they can afford. We're not being
Nope,
directive. We're not
nope.
being commanding. We're just sizing up the situation,
Mhm.
maybe hearing mom or dad talk, maybe the fiance suggesting, do you have anything else? So you wouldn't go from a $5,000 dress, correct me if I'm wrong, to $100 dress.
No.
But there are steps
Yeah.
that we could take, and exactly the same thing. Well, I shouldn't put the words in your mouth. Is that the same kind of scenario when somebody comes in, walks into your showroom? You've got a Denali, High Country,
Yep.
possibly even and just an AT4 loaded
Cadillac versus Buick
bags.
is the like
Bingo.
so if someone walks in, actually, I had it was my dad and his girlfriend. She always wanted a Cadillac, and so I got them to drive a Cadillac, and then I got them to drive the Buick. And once they and dad, so my dad is well, if you ask him, he's the best driver in Canada. Uh,
The
he
one that
owned a
hit the
trucking
deer with the
company.
motorcycle.
But yes, that's the one. He was fine. He stood up after, okay?
Thank goodness.
But he came, yeah, so got them to drive the Cadillac, then I got them to drive the Buick, and they got out and this does kind of show it because some people do just want the name. They want to be known to be driving a Denali or whatever when in fact you get the same luxury in a Buick compared to a Cadillac. So dad gets out and he goes, "Well, yeah, no, those Cadillacs drove the same." I'm like, "The Cadillacs?" I'm like, "That's a Buick, that's a Cadillac." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't notice the difference in the drive." And it's not like they were even being budget. Well, they're always dad's Dutch, so he's always budget conscious. But it was. it's a prime example of what are your needs? What do you want from a vehicle? And listening to that. A lot of times too, if I'll say if they want so the Buick, yeah, the Buick, if you're interested in a smooth ride, it doesn't have to be a Cadillac. Buick is just as smooth. So hitting on the key points that are important to them, making sure that you find them something. If it's leather interior, still make them, still get them into something that's leather, but it doesn't have to be a Cadillac price tag. So he said, well, what's the difference between the two? And I'm like, well, the difference is this one's $15,000 more expensive and has half the features, and this one is fully loaded, parks itself for $15,000 less. So you can, if you figure it out and you care enough to put them in the right vehicles. There is so many of the vehicles now too come standard with a ton of features, and it's just, and I think salesmen too think right away, oh, I'd rather sell a Cadillac. It makes way more money. No, it doesn't. Like, not necessarily. And everyone's pay structure is different, but it doesn't necessarily make you more money either. But that shouldn't be your goal either. Your goal shouldn't always be the money. I think if you don't focus on making the money, sometimes the money comes. Because if you care about treating your customer right and more so that angle of it, the money will come. So care enough to ask those questions and don't just, yeah, put them in a vehicle that you haven't figured out if they're financially able to do, and not even, maybe they are financially able to do it, but they are smart enough to know it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So they don't want to spend a ton of money on a vehicle when they could get all the features that they want in one that's $10,000 less.
Excellent. You're so right. It's not so much what you make, it's how much you keep. It's selling like you don't need the money. Really tough concepts for a lot of people to
Yeah.
get. And very easy, with all due respect to you and everybody else, very easy for you, Jen, because you're a high performer. But you think back to the days where you had to make that sale in order to hit your target and objective this month, and that could be to pay your rent. And it's tough selling like you don't need the money when you really, really do, but the commission breath starts to come out. And I think what we really need to drive home to the audience, everyone listening and looking for these golden nuggets of advice and inspiration, is that by showing the Buick beside the Cadillac, and even if you were fortunate enough to have another luxury brand on the used car lot beside a
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz, BMW, or an Audi, it isn't so much, hey, here are your choices, which is exactly obviously what we're doing.
Yep.
But I think for you, and again, I don't want to put the words in your mouth, and you can expand on this, it's narrowing the decision down to the Cadillac by the customer focus approach, offering the choices.
Yep.
Oh, all of a sudden, when, with your dad's girlfriend, with all due respect to her, wanting a Cadillac forever, at the end, do you want to go with it? Do you guys want to take delivery of it? They're left with one choice, yes
Hmm.
or no.
Yep.
When you show them your Buick and maybe even another offering, and they go, Jen, I don't want a Malibu.
Hmm.
Like, I'm looking at a Cadillac. It's like, okay, great. So now we're helping them narrow down their choice at this very
Yeah.
nanosecond. I don't want a Buick. We came in on the Cadillac.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Press hard 3 copies. Just there's three
Yeah.
carbon copies there. Just right here. Sign right on the dotted line.
Yeah.
The closing gets really easy.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So walk us through that. When you think to yourself, I'm taking them out to show them a high country, a Denali, an Escalade, and you're thinking to yourself, they really should be in an AT4. They really
Mhm.
should be in an SLE and something cloth that has all the treasures on it, but it's not a Denali and it's not a high country. Now, how do you get people to consider looking at those others?
To consider looking at them, I'm just not like I just say I'm going to show you these options, just so that you're aware, so that you know what your options are. I want to make sure that you're happy with whatever you buy. So one of my customers, he needed a truck, needed it. I'm going, Lee, do you need a truck? She's like, need a truck. What do you need a truck for? And he's, no, Jen, I do. I need a truck. I'm like, but you can't even tell me what you need a truck for. Like, you're coming from a little Volkswagen. I don't, your dad has said, if you need a truck, we have trucks that you can borrow. But the parents too wanted him to walk through the process. So I sold him a truck. It was a great price 2 years ago. And then yeah, the dad called me because he needed another truck for their shop. And I'm like, okay, so do you need a truck? And he's like, yeah, I need a truck. What do you mean? What do you mean do I need a truck? And I'm like, well, you've got the other truck, the other shop truck, right? And he's like, yeah, I got the other shop truck. I'm like, are you ever going to need two trucks at the same time? No. So what's this? What's the purpose of this vehicle? Well, it's like max it's going to be in is maybe a big box. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save you 30 grand. Here's the tracks. And then Lee, the son. So I put them in, and that's another big thing. That's the not caring about the money. I don't make that much selling a Chevy Trax. I make a lot more selling a pickup truck. But caring about your cut, like those people have bought because I've built the trust up with them. There, this is one of my favorites. So they had picked up their second Escalade Sport Platinum, $165,000 vehicle in
Wow.
May. Yeah, in May. And then in, I think it was June or July, his truck was coming in at 2,500. This was probably the seventh or eighth truck that he had purchased for me. Um, so his truck's coming in, and a CT5 Blackwing V Series comes in on the same truck as his truck, and it's available. Super rare car, super impressive car. Like I
It
smile just
is.
talking about this car.
It is.
I'm not even a car like it is phenomenal. And it was the car that taught me, yeah, no cars can kill you because they're so fast. Like I understand it now. So this
Thank
truck
you.
comes in and it had just become available, and I'm going, that's perfect for Wes. So I call him. I'm like, hey, Wes, I think you're gonna buy this car. He's like, what are you talking about, Scherders? I'm picking up my 2,500. I'm like, yeah, no, you're getting that too. But I think you're going to take this car too. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it's a Cadillac. You love Cadillac. It's got the Corvette engine. You love Corvettes. And it's black. It's your color. He's like, okay, whatever. Put it on hold. Put it on hold. So then he's texting me later at night going, wait, is it this car? And it's got this and this. I'm like, yeah, that's the car. And he's like, oh my God. And he's losing it. $110,000 car that because we've built that trust up, because I do. So yeah, I'll sell you the Chevy Trax instead of this pickup and make less here. But now we're also at the point where I can tell them what to do. Like literally, I could tell them, yes, this is what you're doing. They would just, okay, yeah, tell me when I need to sign the papers. So yeah, I added on this $110,000 car to his purchase. They are beyond happy. And it is, and that's the kind of thing like knowing your customer, but also not being scared to add stuff on. Like not thinking, oh, I'm being pushy if I try and add on a $110,000 car to his 2,500. If you know your customer, I know that like his uncle actually is a huge account with us. And as soon as he saw the car, he's going, where did you get that? And Wes is like, Almonds. No, you didn't. Yeah. How? Jen called me. It became available when it was coming in on the truck, and she called me. He has wanted this car, this other account, like huge, has wanted this car, but I'm not his salesperson and nobody called him. And he's going, so the importance of knowing your customer and just making the phone calls. Just give them the option.
Yep.
It's their money, they get to pick, right? But
If you don't ask, you'll never know.
it's always no if you don't ask.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, and it is like you have to remember you are the professional. So if you didn't tell them about this car and then let's say the uncle was to buy it and then Wes sees it and he's going, well, sure it is. Why didn't you tell me about that? You have to remember that you're the professional and they're going to be disappointed if they didn't know something. So give them that information. Tell them the options because if they were to talk to somebody else, so if you have someone that wants to buy a Denali, but you want to show them this, and then they go to another store and they have the same experience, but that salesperson goes, well, no, I can get you into a Trail Boss or an AT4, much less payments, but it does all the things you want. It's cooler, it's younger. Oh, yeah, that's way better. If you didn't tell them that, you didn't give them that option. And well, she didn't tell me that at the other store. I didn't even know
Yep.
about the Trail Boss. Like, I like this way more and I'm saving money. So, knowing, remembering that part of it, I think is really important. That somewhere else, if they go somewhere else and here they've gotten a better experience just because they've had more options or been walked through things, you just lost a customer for forever.
It's a customer focused approach, giving them
Yeah.
choices. When they
Yeah.
have choices to make, they feel like they're in control. They love you for it. Now, I want everybody to know as well, Jen isn't just talking about one time. This isn't a one-off experience that she had with the Black Wing and with one customer. Jen, tell us about the guy because you were so excited to tell me about this and in the class with everybody
Oh, yes.
who came in on the pickup truck
Yeah.
and purchased a
No,
Corvette.
no,
Take
other,
us.
yes. So he came in for a Corvette. This was hilarious. And so and he's wild. Like the outfit, he's got like a Hawaiian shirt on. He's got long white hair tied back. He's got like a bucket hat on. And a lot
So
of
he
people
looks like Willie Nelson by the sounds of things.
like but yeah, but like it's big and he's yeah. he comes in and yeah, I used to do this. And he could be very intimidating for many because he's a loud personality. But he comes in and he's going,
Maybe more
yeah,
Alan Jackson.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would maybe more big and rich, maybe. But he comes in and he's going, yeah, I want to buy a Corvette. And I'm like a brand new Corvette, like a C8. Yeah. I'm like, where are you from? Like, you can't just buy a Corvette off the lot. Like, where are you from? Oh, I've lived in the States, BC, blah, 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 blah. And so he came in for a Corvette. That doesn't mean you shut the conversation down because you can't get it for him right now. Keep going. Like the way I used to say it in retail was great if someone comes in and they need an outfit for an interview. Great if you sold them $300 worth of clothes. But if you didn't find out that they're a hockey mom and they're going away this weekend and you didn't keep going and they're going away on a trip next week and they go down to Reitman's and buy all that stuff there. So don't let go. Like still build a
Yes.
relationship. So I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I'll still talk to him. So we walk out to the lot and he came in for a Corvette and he left with a 3500 dually and a Mustang
Outstanding.
convertible. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
and I don't even know. I flipped because I think because I just kept talking to him. So I walked him out. I was showing him an Escalade because if he wants Corvette, he's got fine taste. I'm like, well, what else do you drive? Because you can't drive a Corvette all the time. Oh yeah, I drive this, this, this. I'm like, oh, I'll show you the Escalade. And then just keep going. Oh, he lives on a farm. He just moved here. He needs something to pull his trailers. Perfect. Got a 3500 over here for you. And, but that one was hilarious because I don't know if I'll ever have an experience where a guy comes in for a Corvette and leaves with a dually and a
And
Mustang. And all the sales people are going, he's wasting your time. He's telling you he's paying cash for these vehicles. He's not. And I'm like, I'm not going to give up because I don't agree with you guys. And yeah, closed him that day. And he used to work at car dealerships and stuff too. And he's like, you were impressive. So again,
good
have
for
being
you.
able to be confident, but not letting go just because like if someone's coming in for a Corvette, yeah, you can sell them something.
Great.
Yeah.
As we start to land the plane here, what's the easiest deal that you ever did? The most perfect deal, the most perfect customer.
Most perfect customer. Uh, During COVID, if you answered the phone, yeah, you sold a truck. That's the easiest, but that's not selling. And actually, that's one thing during COVID when everyone did get lazy. Like I remember there was one March and I was still connecting with you, doing strategy coaching. I didn't let go of being a salesman. And you continued to reiterate that. And I saw it on our floor. I see it with realtors. It's making my job much easier sometimes
Absolutely.
because it's just people have stayed lazy and stayed with the intimidation factor of, well, you can't get anywhere else. No, you can. Like, product
Yeah.
is back out there. You have to be a salesman again now. And I remember the one month, it was March, and it was the lowest inventory we had had ever. Um, and at
How
the
many
end of the
cars did you
day,
have? How many vehicles did you have on the lot
oh
at the
my God, it like the keyboard was empty. I
time?
like
Keyboard was
empty. The
empty.
keyboard, like it was like maybe 20, it seemed like it was 20 cars at a time.
Wow.
It was awful.
And you would
So,
normally have how many in a month?
oh God, I'm bad with numbers. But it was like I at the end of the day, I see the other two salesmen and yeah, another female standing there in the showroom, and they're going, "Oh, you're here? Like we haven't seen you all day." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I didn't want to say it to them and give them the tip off, but when you're slow, you should be the busiest because now you got to work for the sale. So it flips
Good for
from
you. Yeah.
I answered the phone and sold something. Now you got to find a vehicle and then figure out who to buy it for. So I was every customer that I sold, if there was a trade in, I was selling that trade in before it got in. Um, every
Good
time.
for you.
So they're
Great.
going, "Oh,
Double
what's coming
ending
in?"
it.
I'm like, "Don't worry about it." Sold.
Yeah.
So that actually at the time, I had a record month. That was my record month at the time during the slowest and least inventory because I was still focusing on being a salesman and focusing on your steps, making sure I was doing all those things and not just going, "Oh yeah, you want a Denali? Yep, sold." You got to put more work in than that. Like you can't just expect them all to come to you. And it is, and I think that was another reason why I was hitting the top salesman at the dealership because it takes a bit now for you guys to all relearn how to be a salesman. And yeah, I will reap the rewards of you guys being lazy.
Good for
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Good for you. So, inventory shortage aside,
Mhm.
pandemic protocol aside, let's remove that from the history books that goes down as record pressing as incidents. from the very beginning when you started selling automobiles, what was the easiest customer? How did it all flow out? And what do you think you did really? What do you think you do really, really right with all those easy customers?
I think with all the easy customers, I still care to put them in something that works for them. So my first sale actually was an easy sale. She came in and I'm like, what are you looking for? SUV. What's your favorite color? I don't know. What color? Like, you don't know what, is there any no-goes for color? No.
Great
Okay. Have you
question.
driven anything
Great.
else? Like, and that, yeah, asking what she doesn't want. She didn't give me anything. She was just like, and I just kind of turned around and went, okay, this blue Equinox just came in. Do you like the color blue? Yeah, I guess that's my favorite color. So I put her in that, went for the test drive.
Wow.
And with that one, because it had nothing to do with the vehicle, it was just kind of getting to know her and making her feel comfortable. And so making sure that she is having a good experience, because it is such a laydown that if you don't close this laydown, she's going next door and they will close this laydown.
Yeah.
So just creating the experience, I guess.
Do you think that she was intimidated being in the car dealership and that's why she didn't know? I mean, second greatest financial decision that she makes, at least this week,
Some
possibly
people, the
this month.
biggest.
Yeah,
Yep.
possibly this year or if ever, right?
Yep.
Before you purchase your home, congratulations. Your car, your truck was probably the most
Yeah.
significant financial decision. So,
Absolutely.
do you think she was a little bit shy,
There
intimidated,
is a
unsure?
lot of that. Like, there is a lot of the shy into. I constantly think back to when I first, and I think that's the biggest thing too. I constantly think back to the first vehicle I purchased on my own at a dealership and my experiences. The first, I went to drive a Tucson, and the lady did not look up from her desk once. She, by odd luck, she happened to have the keys on her desk. She didn't walk me, like, she didn't even look up. She went, "Here's the plate. Here's the keys." I'm like,
Wow,
and okay, I guess we'll
brutal.
find this. It was terrible. And then I still remember his name, Rick. He was in Milton and he was phenomenal. He did a full walk around. Like, it was night and day difference. He did a full walk around. He touched all the points. He came on the test drive with me. He cared. Like, I'm like, listen, Rick, this isn't the vehicle I want, but you're phenomenal. I'm like, you've been great. Here's the experiences I've had. I want to keep the business here because this is where I work. Like I said, I still remember him. And so I think,
Dynamite.
yeah, I think making people feel comfortable is, especially in a car dealership, is huge. Nobody likes car shopping. And I think that's another tip you gave me, was saying to people, don't you want to be done with all this? Like, don't you want the car shopping sucks? Don't, like, let's wrap this up. I don't want you to have to go to spend more hours looking for a vehicle. Um, so but making it a fun experience and making people comfortable, because it is so intimidating. Do that, and you've got customers for life. Like, I have hands down the most loyal customers, and actually the most loyal customers at our shop for sure. I constantly hear, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Um,
Great.
but it's even the one service guy. He's worked at numerous dealerships, city, everywhere, and he's like, I've never seen customers as loyal as yours ever.
Dynamite. Good for you.
Yeah.
Average ordinary automobile salespeople sell 4 to 6 a month because the customer shopped three, four, five, six
Yes.
places.
Yeah.
They are fed up
Yeah.
and they buy from that individual. And it's really quite sad. And then they take that bad experience and they come forward to a magnificent salesperson like yourself, and you've got to put up with the gobbledygook and
Oh,
the confident that combative
that's
behavior.
they walk in wanting to, like, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand that too. They walk in, because I did. I remember getting when I closed the deal, and it was okay, yeah, now you got to go into this next room. And I'm like, I know that next room, she's just going to try and sell me things that I don't need. I know that.
That's the steam
So,
room.
right, I don't want to go in there. And looking back too, she only tried to sell me Bluetooth, which was very bizarre. It should have been warranty, but I was saying no to everything, right? So again, care about your customer. I think that's genuinely care. Think of it, if you were in that buying position, and this is like a thing you teach. If you were in that buying position, how would you want to be treated? What would you want to know? Making sure, and it doesn't end there. That's the other biggest thing. The good night kiss isn't just the delivery. You got to keep going with the customer. If they have problems with service, my customers know they can come to me for anything, and they know Jen will handle it. Like, 100%. You have to make sure you still touch base with your customer, but also they're still happy. so that
Right.
they do come back. Because and everyone's like, but Jen, it's not your problem. It's a service thing. I'm like, yeah, but if we lose you as a service customer, you're probably not coming back to me
Yeah.
because they're going to go to another dealership for service, and then some other salesman's going to go, hi there, I'm whoever, and now you just lost that customer.
100%. Like the service advisor should be bringing people up to the front end of the dealership and say, "Hey, this is Jen.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't need to go back to that dealership and then bring it to us for great service.
yes, yeah,
You can get it all in one package right here. Why not
and you're
buy
having a
right
great
here?"
time, right? Yeah,
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 100%. Good for you. Now, Jen, you touched on a
yeah.
number of things. How many walk-ins, telephone calls, and e-leads do you have to take to hit double digits every single month now?
How many walking? Is this a trick question?
No, no,
I've
it's
got a
opportunity
lot
buckets,
of
right? Because you've got a lot of referrals, repeat,
yes,
network,
yes,
and service department upgrades. The
yes,
average ordinary automobile salespeople and anybody new or struggling right now, even high achievers like yourself that have fallen from grace from the 18
yeah.
cars, 15 cars, 10 cars a month, and they're doing six, and they're like, I need to do something different. They're not looking at the opportunities. They're really staring them in the face as opposed to staring at the showroom doors, waiting for them to swing or the
Yeah.
email bell to chime
Yeah.
or the phone to ring. How many of those do you have to rely on compared to the other four opportunities, five opportunities that exist?
I don't have to rely on walk-ins. I don't have to rely on it. Zero. I would say I don't.
Did everybody hear that? Say it again.
I
I,
zero. I don't have to rely. I have more of a chance of selling my database than I do of walking over to that lot.
good
Hey, new
for you.
kid, you go over there.
Yeah.
It is like those are the
Yeah.
people that you're gonna have to. You have to start the whole process over with this customer. You have to build their trust. You have to. And there's so many tire kickers out there. The people you have in your database that you've sold them. You know you can close those people. You know you've delivered a phenomenal experience, and you know they will refer you. Um,
Yeah, so we don't get a bunch of dealer principals upset with us here on
Come here,
this. You've got to cut your teeth on those people,
for
right?
sure.
You
Yep,
you can practice with them. You've got to go
yep,
out and look after them. But if you've been in the business for 30 days, you can ask them what the other vehicle in the driveway they're driving. You just eloquently told us about that. The Corvette buyer, the Cadillac buyer,
yep,
there's probably and you've probably got a list the length of your arm and longer of
yep.
situations where it developed like that. But what I really wanted to drive home was when traffic's down, you're not down and out, right?
No, no. I've consist like I said, traffic like the lowest traffic months sometimes are my best months because that is when you got to dig deep and you have time to focus on your database. And okay, I know this guy knows this company. Well, they need cargo vans or, but making those cold calls like, and marketing, I still need to do much more coaching with you on the marketing stuff as far as Canva and all that stuff. But doing that stuff and just getting your name out there. But again, I do think like delivering an awesome experience. I had a customer come in. Um, they came to Hallman's because they read reviews on all the different dealerships in the area and the most they saw the most reviews on me on Google or whatever it was. And that's why they came in. They came in, no, we want to deal with Jen. We've read the reviews on her. That's who we want to deal with. So again, if you're focusing on creating that wicked experience, some of those walk-ins will come in directly for you because they've heard about you, which is the biggest compliment. Oh, you're Jen. You're the girl with all the reviews on you online. I didn't like I honestly didn't know people focused on the reviews as much as they do. And it is really cool to have most of the good like to read the reviews and like Jen is amazing. It feels really good. So it reinforces to me that yeah, no, you're doing the right thing. And if you focus on your customer experience and making sure you're doing right by them, the rest comes. Big time comes.
Good
And
for you.
it took a while. Like it is not easy. You have to be willing to put your nose down and work. But it does pay off.
Good for you. Ah, that was dynamite, Jen. Thanks so much for this. This is
Yeah.
magnificent and wonderful because I was just about to ask you, what's the advice you could give people? And I think you answered that question right there.
Yes.
If you're struggling, if you're new, if you really want to make this a career as opposed to just having a job,
Yeah.
just buckle down and recognize that when you give people choices, they feel like they're in control.
Yep.
And it's not a sales presentation anymore as it
No.
is cultivating a relationship and
Yeah.
helping them make the decision they want to make.
And that's one of the biggest things that I hear for feedback is I never felt pressured. I never like it was never that. You could tell Jen cared about making the right decision for me and getting me into something like and like having those big wins and having people hug you and be like, oh God, this was amazing in the car industry is awesome. It's such a huge win. And it does the feeling of that. That is why I've stayed in the game because it's not an easy industry. I think everybody thinks, oh, car sales, yeah, that'll be easy. Think again. And if you think it's going to be easy, go work somewhere else. Because I'm telling you, it's not. Not to do it well, anyways. So yeah, I think making sure you're there for your customer and knowing the steps that you train, but also you do need training. Like if I did not connect with you, oh, I probably wouldn't still be selling cars,
Thank you. I
but
think you would. I
care
think
enough.
you'd be
I
doing
don't know if I
well.
would. I don't know because it is, but it's because I was at a high level of managing. I know how to run a business. Again, car sales is not the same. So you do lose your confidence. So to know all the little tips and tricks, and they're easy to learn from you, knowing all that little stuff that you can implement, the referral thing I'll never forget. You have to know someone. And the guy said, "Oh, I know lots of people that would want to meet you, but no, none that are buying cars right now." So at least it's in his head though, right? And
Yeah.
some of the referrals that I've gotten, it's just a lot of times they're from people that have never bought, but I have delivered such a good experience and and I don't treat them like, oh, they haven't bought, so they're useless to me. No, there's still a connection there. So you still get referrals you can get, I had a customer in shopping with her dad and they gave me a fake number. Sorry. They never replied to my emails. I don't know if it was the right email, but they also gave me, well, so I was calling the number, nobody answered. So I'm texting and I'm talking to this person and he's like, I think, I don't think you're, I don't, eventually he's like, I don't have a daughter that age. They gave me the wrong number. I still sold a vehicle.
Good for you.
Like yeah, that one was
Outstanding.
hilarious. Yeah. I'm like, well, what do you need? Oh, I do need a truck actually. Perfect. Come in. So
All you gotta do is show up, right? That's
100%.
that's
Yep.
all we need to do. And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean just show up at work. And that
No, I
doesn't
mean show up.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
just show up, be positive. I did the exact same thing. Real fast story on that. I was buying a snowmobile at the time, didn't know anything about snowmobiles. I just
Mm.
started selling automobiles at a Pontiac Buick Cadillac dealership, so I'm really aging myself there. It was Pontiac. I don't have anymore. And I asked this guy to help me come along with me because he was supposedly the snowmobile expert. And we run out of gas in a van that was on the used car lot. So we're out in the middle of nowhere, and he said, "What are we going to do now?" And this is on our lunch hour. We had to go out and get this thing and come back. And I said, "I'll just walk up to that farmhouse and I'll ask the guy if he's got gas." He goes, "Give me a break. Like people don't just have gas hanging around." I said, "He's got a lawnmower. He's got to have
Yeah.
gas."
Yeah.
Went up, met him, got the gas. I said, "I'll fill this up and I'll bring it back to you in a half an hour." Did so, dropped it off, and he goes, "Well, where are you going?" I said, "Oh, I'm going back to the dealership." He said, "What dealership?" I told him. He said, "Do you sell cars?" And I was dressed like this. It was
Yeah.
open shirt, but I certainly wasn't dressed for picking up a snowmobile. I said, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "Well, that's fascinating. My daughter needs a car. We were heading into the Chevy dealer. We'll come down and see you as
Yeah.
well and just compare prices." Great. I sold an automobile that night.
Yeah.
It was the story of the
From
dealership.
anywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All you need
You
to do
never
is
know.
show up.
Exactly.
And it does make it a whole lot of, you're right. It is very difficult to do well.
Yes.
Once you're doing it well, it really isn't that hard a job to do.
No,
The
the job
hard part,
itself, no. Yeah.
yeah, the hard part is staying on doing it well,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
How many people fall off the wagon, so to speak, cheat the system like we did through the inventory shortage, want to go desperately back to that again, which is never ever going to happen again,
Mhm.
and consequently struggle along at 4 to 6 to 8 cars a month and can't
Yeah.
really seem to break into the double digits. And yet it's so feasible, it's so doable, as you've illustrated here.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jen. This is
Thank
amazing.
you.
A
Yeah.
fantastic day. This has been wonderful.